okay, my North Star is better revenue for the organization. How can I work to make that happen? Right? And whether or not sales is listening to me or marketing is listening to me or not, that's not important. What's important is my work contributing to revenue generation and acceleration? And if so, how? And how can we make it better?
Welcome to the Inside Business Analysis podcast. I'm your host, Tanner Jacobs, and today I am joined with Pragati. How are you doing today, Pragati?
I am doing great, Tando. Thank you for having me over. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and it's a pleasure to have you on. I'm excited for our conversation just around your career and your transition into working in your own consultancy, but also this very exciting world that you specialize in, which I've never come across, but I'll be interested to definitely pick your brain and find out more about what that entails. So first of all, briefly give us an introduction into who you are and what do you do?
Mhm. As you know, my name is Pragati Sinha. I am based out of Boston, Massachusetts. I have been working as a business analyst, business systems analyst, technical project manager, or some combination of that, or a program manager for more than 10 years. I have worked at startups, I've worked at small boutique consultancies, I've worked at bigger enterprises, and I've had the opportunity to work across a lot of different domains. I started in financial services, moved to retail, then I moved into food and beverages, and then into cybersecurity, and then into enterprise software. And so I worked across like a full gamut of corporations or startups. And earlier this year, after my last role ended because we were having a spate of layoffs in the high tech industry. But I took that as an opportunity to do something that I have always wanted to do, which was to launch my own consulting practice, which is what I'm doing today. I launched Capstone Consulting in April of this year, and I am doing what I absolutely love, which is working on discovery projects and business transformation projects in the niche, which for me is revenue operations, which kind of runs the gamut of marketing, sales, as well as customer service. So it's just early days, early stages, but happy with the progress that we are making and really looking forward to you know many more amazing years as a consulting practice to learn and grow more.
Yeah, awesome journey. What what spurred that transition? What happened there?
So the trans so I think starting my own company was like a seed or a hope that I've always had. I don't remember a time I didn't think I was going to do this. So even in uni, college, I always thought, okay, I'm looking for a job. Let's say, after finishing up my studies, and I was like, oh, okay, but this is just a learning experience for me. Like, so everything I've done up to the point where I launched my business, I always saw it as, I'm learning all of these. How to handle projects and all these details and these skills I'm building up to launch my own business. So that was always in the back of my mind. So I was never the kind who said, oh, I'm doing better or I want to deliver better projects because I want to be in that position or I need to climb the corporate ladder. And I pretty much never even cared about the corporate ladder. Like, doesn't matter if I was working at a startup or a big company. For me, it was all learning experience trying to get to what I'm doing today. So my most recent role was actually with Google as a business systems analyst for their Salesforce team. Um, Great experience, but it was short-lived because we had, last year because of the recession and or recession fears and a lot of things. We had a lot of layoffs in North America, so my role got eliminated as part of that. So instead of trying to still keep on practicing my craft, I decided, you know what, I want to practice my craft, but I want to do it within, you know, a world that I create, which is, for me, was to launch my own company. So I said, rather than, going and doing, trying to gather more learning experiences, let's actually do it and see if you can do it. So I just took that as a, this is my thing. This is what I need to do. So just jump in and do it now.
And what did that look like for you in terms of that transition? Was it an easy choice, or did you have to kind of really look into it in detail before making that jump? And when you did make that jump, how did that feel like initially?
It wasn't an easy jump. I actually, very honestly, I thought like the last time I had really seriously thought about doing this was 2 years ago. And At the time, I was like almost ready. Like, I did all my paperwork, submitted my paperwork to get my business formed, and I was kind of ready to go. But I had a infant at home, and everything that goes with being a mother, and COVID had just hit, and a lot of things were happening. So I just said, hey, this is probably not the time. I need some mental space and you know um, uh, some time to kind of gather myself and keep going. Um, Also, at the same time, I actually got offered to work on this really amazing project for a company, which is sort of like a once in a lifetime opportunity, like as a business analyst, or like it was a mega project, and tons of learning experience. So I just knew if I could do this would be like the shining star of my career. Like, I can always, it's something that I can talk about all, and learn so much from. So I decided to not launch my business and actually went in for this particular project because I just knew that learning would be amazing. And it was, absolutely was. That's why I kind of didn't go forward at that time. But again, early this year, when things changed, I said, okay, I need to rethink what I want to do now. And I have small children even now, and actually had given birth just a couple of months ago. So I had like a small baby at home. So the conditions were almost the same. But this time I just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to find a reason every time. I'm going to find an excuse every time that I can't do it right now because something better has come up, or um, I have personal circumstances that stop me. But it's mostly, I guess, on the other side of it, I would say most of it is a mental block. I do have a supportive family in terms of, if I need to do something, they're there for me to say, this is, you can do it, you can go forward, and we'll be there for you. So you need that, definitely need that, especially as a woman, like with a family, like you need a family support to be there to kind of keep going, to get your dreams. So not an easy decision, but this time I just said, you know what, I'm not going to think about it, I'm not going to overthink it, and just do it, and I'll figure out the challenges as I go along. Initially, like we had some I mean, my experience so far has been mostly positive, I would say. But I'm really thankful. I hadn't realized how helpful other people can be when you go out to them and you tell them that, hey, I have this idea that I want to do. Can you help me refine it? Or do you know somebody who can help kind of move this along? Or and I kind of reached out to my network and people I had worked with before, and there were so many like amazing mentors, teachers, advisors that just came out and um, helped me along this journey. And it's still very new, but I was just amazed at how much people wanted to help me succeed. Which was not something I was expecting, really, honestly. Not that I always had good relationships with people, but um, just it was still blowing my mind how much people kind of stepped out of their way to come and help me.
Yeah, which is powerful. And it speaks to this idea, isn't it, that your network definitely does matter, particularly when you're now doing your own thing, and building your own brand, so to speak.
Yeah, I think your network matters more than anything else. Absolutely anything else. And I can vouch for that, not just from launching my business, but I was in this. I think I'm talking more than like 10 years ago, but I was working. I started my analyst journey more as a data analyst and not as a business systems analyst.
Right.
But I did data analysis and sort of into business analysis. Like I used to work with BAs and I used to see and say, hey, this looks really interesting. Like this is something I'd want to do in the future. So I went and actually did a certification to kind of really understand business analysis and requirement gathering and all the right concepts. But my background was still like a data analyst. So I was trying to break into business systems analysis, which was really hard at the time. It still is. I mean, whenever you're trying to make a transition. And one thing that I really lacked then, which thankfully I don't today, was a good network. Because I had worked for a company, but I was kind of in my shell. People in my department knew me, and I had not really gone out and really, talked to other people or attended conferences or workshops and really tried to build that network or even be active or present on LinkedIn, like at the bare minimum. Uh, Obviously LinkedIn wasn't what it is today, but
Yeah.
still, like, I didn't really have a presence, I didn't have a network. And I realized that was the problem. Like, that's the reason I cannot make this transition easily. And I said, you know what, the moment this I break free from this, I'm never going to let this happen to me ever again. So the moment I landed a job, I was in a position where I was feeling more positive, and I'm like, okay, I get it now. The one thing I've done from that day, which was more than 10 years ago, is said, my network is the most powerful thing. So I'm going to go out and build my relationships. That's the most important thing for me at work. That's the most important thing for me in life, to say. And obviously start I didn't need anything from my network then. I had a job, I was in a good position, I was earning enough money. But that is the time you need to network, is when you don't need the network. And thankfully, like, throughout out of all of that, so I moved from Canada to the US. I did not have trouble looking for a job because, you know I had like a network set in place, or I kind of knew people. I had to look for different jobs in the US. All of that happened because of my network. So I think, if there's like one takeaway that anybody needs, or one career advice anyone needs, whether you're a business analyst or not, you need to build your network when you don't need them. So, like, start today. Like, just that is the only thing you need to do.
I agree. Wholeheartedly agree with that. So the area that you specialize in is called RevOps. And again, that's not DevOps. It's RevOps, to be very clear. So could you please just break down what RevOps is in layman's terms for someone like myself who hasn't actually come across this before?
Okay. So, RevOps is basically short for revenue operations. Revenue operations is pretty much like you putting a framework around, or marketing, sales, and customer success. So, all of them together is what, kind of, those are the core functions that RevOps, that fall under RevOps, basically. So, how it kind of, but it's a different kind of lens for seeing these functions. So, traditionally, you have the marketing team, you have the sales team, you have the customer success team, and they're all kind of siloed in what they do. So there's tasks and activities that marketing does, that sales does, and customer success do. They kind of talk to each other, but for the most part, they're siloed within their organizations. What RevOps does, it puts a framework and says all three departments are responsible for the ultimate revenue that a company generates. So, how can we optimize data, platforms, people, tools, anything across these three functions? So, marketing, sales, and customer success. So, you pretty much say, okay, so you're setting up a bedrock of data, technology, processes, people from all of these departments. right? So now marketing is responsible for revenue, sales is responsible for revenue, customer success is responsible for revenue. So the ultimate test that they have is how much contribution they made to revenue. So this is actually it's a lens like, I think the best analogy I can give you is, more than anything else, this is a mindset. When we talk about agile
Mm.
in development, we say there's things that go around it, right? Do you do scrum, do you do kanban, all of those are great details, right? But agile is a mindset. It's a thinking that says we need to build in a way that a product is continuously improving, right? If you have that down, then you're doing agile, and it doesn't matter if you're doing kanban or scrum or safe or whatever other methodology you decide to do, use in your development. It's the same thing with revenue operations. It's a mindset. It's a thinking that all these teams are responsible for revenue generation and acceleration. How do we optimize the data, the technology, the processes, and people across these three functions to get the most revenue? So I think for me, this was a very interesting area because I've worked in marketing, I've worked in sales, I've done a little bit of work on customer service, and I always saw like the differences and the gaps between these organizations. And for example, marketing would be like, oh, we send good quality leads to sales as marketing qualified leads, but we have no idea what happens to them. So their thinking is from, did I get a new visitor on my website, to them becoming, I think this is a qualified person sales, I want you to look at it. That's their view. That's what they see. But what
Okay.
happens with that person, and what sales does with it is very like hazy, and sometimes marketing doesn't even know what's going on. And that creates a lot of friction between the two teams. And it's the same thing with like sales and customers success. There's some sort of friction between these groups to say, I don't know, I can see my picture up to here, but what happens over there is a black box for me. Revenue operations takes that away. It's not a black box anymore. Everybody, marketing, sales, and customer service, you see what's happening with the tools, you see what's happening with the data, you see what's happening with the entire platform. So that visibility is what, you know, gives you information, and then you're supposed to action that to contribute to the revenue. So for me, it was a very like a concept that I personally really enjoy working with, because it's just better collaboration, better teamwork, and just kind of almost like a minimalist thinking
Mm.
put into it to say, what's important here, let's work on that first, and then everything else that these teams need to do is like extra. So all of the data that you need access to, all of the platforms that you need access to, the people you need access to, and we build upon that. So that's what, just kind of learning about it and how the philosophies and how this, how you can implement that in a company was a really good learning experience for me. So that's the reason that I picked that as the thing that I'm going to be doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to be honest with you, I think even this explanation that you've given actually then helps us to see it from the customer's perspective as well to some degree. Because if we focus on, okay, this is what sales do or this is what marketing do, the silos that you mentioned earlier, it can be hard to just understand the full end-to-end customer journey with our organization from the moment that they first hear about us, which is marketing, to the moment that they buy from us, which is sales, and then the moment that they stay with us effectively, which is customer success. And it sounds like revenue ops, to your original explanation, changes the mindset of the people in the organization to think in that way rather than just thinking about their own siloed areas.
Exactly, and it also brings visibility into, like, for sales team to look at what marketing is doing, right? And for everybody to kind of become more, um, I don't know, drive a little bit more empathy about what others are doing to help your cause, because you kind of, and you're working together as a team in that sense, right? You're not no longer just marketing, or you're just sales, or just customer success. You're just like, okay, my North Star is better revenue for the organization. How can I work to make that happen, right? And whether or not sales is listening to me or marketing is listening to me or not, that's not important. What's important is my work contributing to revenue generation and acceleration, and if so, how, and how can we make it better? So the goal kind of shifts from just being like, from my org within the org to just say the bigger company,
Mhm.
and like, how I can help drive that, and less about the friction. Like the friction kind of almost um, it's I guess where people are working, friction will always be part of the equation. You can never get away from it, realistically. But I think the friction, right? What happens is when you don't have revenue operations or that kind of mindset, the friction becomes the thing that you focus on. But okay, marketing would say like, oh, sales isn't listening to me, or sales doesn't look at the leads that we provide, they just kind of work off their own list and whatnot. And they could be right, they could be wrong. But then the whole conversation, or when you're trying to you know do a project or make that better, it becomes about the point of friction. But you need to put your mind, you kind of have to take your focus away from it and to say, yes, we'll design our processes and our platforms and our technology around that, so that there is no friction. And marketing, you can see what's happening to your leads. um, and sales, we know what you're doing with the leads, or you're bringing in other leads. So it's like, it just brings that visibility, it puts a light, it shines a light on everybody to say like, well, this is what everyone's doing. So away from where the point of friction is, and to say, let's go in that direction. Let's not focus on what's stopping us right here, but there's a better path. Like, let's take that. Like, I think it's that kind of mindset change that you get with RevOps.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So shifting gears slightly now, then. So we understand what RevOps is, the mindset around it, the benefits of it. What does your day look like as a RevOps consultant? Is it similar to business analysis, or you're also doing some system slash data analysis work as well in that? What does that look like?
So I think the one that I'm working on right now, it's primarily business analysis. And that is obviously the skill set that I personally bring to the table as well. But for other projects, it could, like, of course, it depends on the projects, right? But primarily, I think because my skill set is in doing the discovery and getting the right requirements in place, making sure, like, it's ready for the development team. So most of my projects do revolve in that space, in terms of the final expectations for what I'm supposed to deliver. In Again, I'm focusing. So there's obviously RevOps has like many elements to it, because you know. Uh, but like, I'm focusing on the tools and technology part of it. So if you're implementing a CRM, if you're implementing marketing automation, if you're implementing any of these other martech or sales tech applications, so those are the kinds of projects that ideally fall in my space. In terms of day-to-day activities, or like, the kinds of like projects that I work on, I utilize my BA skills like 100%. And not even on the projects, to be honest, even trying to get to the projects.
Mm,
I feel like when I'm on a discovery call with a client, when I'm just like, I haven't landed the project, I'm just kind of pitching my work, and making that connection with the client that I can help you on this. I think that utilizes my business analysis skills more than anything else. Because it gives me that opportunity to not be a salesperson and say, I'm here to solve a problem. That's like the
mm,
hat I would wear as a BA, right? To say, I'm here to help you make a decision, I'm here to help you solve a problem, and how do we go about doing that? Let's talk. So I do my client discovery calls, like with prospects, with that mindset that I'm just here to learn about the problems, and then then we'll see if I have a solution, or maybe they are looking, they're working with other consultants that are a better fit for their problems. But that's basically the mindset that I take into it. And it was interesting because I had a client call, prospect call, yesterday, and I came out of it. I thought, it went well.
Mm.
But I felt like I didn't do enough digging into their problems like I would as a business analyst. And I felt like I was doing more solutioning, which is to talk
Interesting.
more about me and my company and what we do and what we can do for them. And I was like, you know what, if you look at it from that perspective, I probably did not do a good job with that discovery call. And so it's trying to, keep that balance between, wearing the analyst hat or BA hat, saying like, I'm here to discover the problem, and but also wearing the hat of a business owner and saying like, I'm also here to kind of, talk about a solution and how I can help the client, and trying to balance the two is what I'm trying to learn.
Yeah. And on that point about understanding the business problem from a RevOps perspective, I'm assuming what you mean is that you're looking at that flow of the customer journey from marketing to sales to customer success side, and then helping the companies solve problems in that journey, whatever the problems are.
Definitely. But I think I just want to take a step back and just talk about RevOps in a different. So RevOps is, as I gave you that analogy with, you know, uh, agile. RevOps is a mindset. It's a thing that happens organization wide, right? It's a very for a company to move away from, being operations focused, siloed into marketing ops, sales ops, and going to RevOps is a transition, is a transformation, is a true transformation for a company to go from that. So right now, I think the projects that we're getting, like, you don't um, get an opportunity to work on. I, at least in my place right now and where I'm starting from, I'm a small fish, so I'm not the consultant company that you would go to right now to kind of go work through that transformation. But what I do get to work on is at the part where, this is what we're doing. Like, we are bringing in new applications for this particular business need, and how that fits into the bigger picture is my contribution to say, well, I know this is what we're doing in this part of the customer journey. So my project is for this little part of the customer journey. And the customer journey is huge, but the mindset and the that we bring in is to say, what happens before, what happens after, how does this fit into your customer journey, is what we you know and how well it fits into the big picture is what my company, or like what our consulting practice is about. We are obviously not doing the full transformation for a company,
Yeah.
but it's we're doing a small piece of it, but with that mindset.
Still pointing them towards that direction, though, aren't you, in terms of thinking of that full journey and eventually.
Exactly, because I think most companies that work with any sort of, like, CRM or like marketing automation and sales tech, martech applications, everybody's kind of you know at a point where they know the points of friction. They know that their tech stack is bloated, or they don't have enough things in the right order. They don't have the right technology. There's a lot, like, revenue operations is a huge, huge, huge topic, and like, we're trying to solve little problems so that we can get to optimizing the revenue for these companies.
Of
Obviously,
course.
a big part of it is technology implementations, making the processes better, making sure people can actually use the processes and the technology that we've implemented. So again, like, these are things that we do as a business analyst, right? This
Yeah.
is like the work that I loved as a BA, to say, hey, how are we doing this? We're bringing in a new piece of technology. How does it impact our processes? How are we going to change either our processes to make it better to use the technology, or how are we going to bend the technology to suit our processes? Like, all of those discussions, that strategy that goes into getting to that point, is what I loved as a BA, and I still get to do that as my in my consulting practice.
For BAs who are listening to this and they're very interested in this RevOps domain, what's your advice to them? How should they get started? Where should they go? And all the rest of it.
So, I think if you're interested in revenue operations, a good place to start would be, working as a BA or like a consultant in one of these core areas of revenue operations. There are a few companies, or especially smaller companies, who have already kind of transitioned to the revenue operations space, and now all they have is like, they'll have RevOps. They just have a RevOps team, right? There's a revenue systems team. So if the company has a revenue systems team, then you're probably looking at that. If not, it would be great to get started, working in marketing, working in sales, or working in customer success fields. Seeing, kind of learning about the people, the processes, technology, and how it contributes to the bottom line of revenue. So, what's your bigger picture? What's this company's, or what's this particular team's North Star? So definitely starting in one of these areas would be the way to go. Obviously, getting a good handle on the technology side, I think, is becoming more and more important. I think when I started my BA journey, and I think we still talk about it as BAs, you're supposed to be solution agnostic for the most part. Like, you don't care whether, you know how something is go shouldn't care, at least from the get-go, how something is going to be implemented. But I would say in the last 3 to 5 years, I've seen more of a focus on, oh, I need a Salesforce BA, or I need a Zendesk BA. I need the business application that you choose to specialize in. I
Yeah.
think is becoming increasingly important. It wasn't so when I started my career, but right now, if you want to be known for something or
Mm.
as a specialist, I think it's really important for BAs to pick one specialization and connect it to a business application. Like,
Are there any applications that you would say, okay, consider these ones because these ones are, really hot in the market, for example?
Salesforce is definitely top of the list, because Salesforce is not just a CRM. There is like a whole, it's like it covers everything. So if you actually go look at the solutions that Salesforce offers, they do marketing automation, they do CRM, they have a billing software, they do loyalty management, they have Salesforce Industries, which has specific solutions for financial services, for the manufacturing companies. So if you can tie yourself to one of these applications, and be known as the person who you know you have to know to be a business analyst, but you also have to know how that happens, how what that means from a system perspective. I think that's becoming increasingly important. Salesforce is probably the top of mind for me too, because I do work in the field as well, and it is expanding and growing. uh, Zendesk is
Mm.
doing great. ServiceNow. So I think anything that any of these bigger business applications like SAP is huge. Workday is huge. So if you get an opportunity to work on any of these applications, I would like really try to learn the application as well, to be really known as the person who kind of can help you. I mean, who's known for that, not just
Mm.
as a BA, but who has knowledge of that particular application. So I think we have to kind of get away from that mindset a little bit. That I know it took me time to get away from the mindset to say, I don't need to know the application to work in it. I don't for the most part, but I think it's becoming harder and harder to do that, and still make a successful career.
Just on that thought process, then, uh, effectively, because a lot of BAs would definitely say focus on business analysis, focus on the business problems, focus on, requirements engineering, stakeholder management, that sort of thing. And then the technical elements, albeit maybe useful, they would argue that it shouldn't be something that we should focus on. But it sounds like what you're saying from a career longevity perspective and for standing out in the marketplace, there is room to actually change that mindset a little bit and be a little bit of a technical SME of sorts of a particular application. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So again, I wholeheartedly agree with the concept when you're starting out, because you're learning and trying to learn the fundamentals and the core skills of being a business analyst is very important. If you're really good at it for the first, I would say, 3 to 5 years in your career, you'll do really well. But you'll get to a point in your career where you will just, you can still get a job, a good job, but it's going to be like, but now what? Now what do I do? Like, do I just jump ship and go work on a different industry? You just go jump ship and do something else, and then you become called a generalist BA, right? But if you feel like you really want to achieve something and you need to like go farther, like you need to refine. I was speaking to my manager at the time, and he was like, you're doing really good work and great, everything's good. And I was like, but I don't know where I'm going after this. Like, what opportunities do I have here or anywhere else? And said, he was very honest with me. He's like, I don't know what you're going to do after this, because you're a fantastic BA, you're a star BA, but you're just a BA, right? So I was a senior, almost going to a principal BA, but you know that skill set hit a point where you just said great, but then I felt like, okay, at that point, if you're telling me that you're just a BA, then you are replaceable, right? And I say, at least my view in the last couple of years has definitely been, you need to find a system that you specialize in, because now everybody, like, even if you look at the job postings, at least it's true in North America, they look for Zendesk business analyst, they look for ServiceNow business analyst, Salesforce business analyst. They don't look for just business analysts. They do, but it's coming to a point where everybody wants a specialization. So they're like, oh, you've been a BA, great. Have you worked with Zendesk, or have you worked with Salesforce, or have you worked with ServiceNow? Those questions are coming up a lot more than they did before.
No, I agree with that. And sometimes it's not technical, as you said. Sometimes it's industry, and sometimes it's a like a niche within an industry. So I do see where you come from in that sense of the point that, yeah, as BAs, generalist BA in the early years, but at some point pick your superpower almost.
Yeah, you have to. I think it, especially because I think pretty much everywhere else, like the world is specializing into things, and I feel like I don't know. I used to work with, like, I still have quite a few business associates who are in the UK. But I feel like there's a better understanding of what a business analyst does in Europe, in UK, versus in North America. So in North America, I would say I still have to kind of explain, I've had interviews and I've talked to clients and I've had to explain the purpose of a business analyst quite a few times. I've had to, talk about the value that business analysts bring quite a few times. Like, these are conversations that are still happening in North America. There's very limited understanding of what a business analyst does. So I talk about it a lot of times to other BAs and people who are in the space. And I'm like, I think we as a business analyst have a marketing problem, like a branding problem, actually. And it's very hard to articulate the value of what we do and how we do it. I think IIBA has done a great job of like popularizing the profession, but I think it's still in a way, or like the words that we use to explain ourselves, it's still kind of, not understandable to the average person. And that's why I think even for our market, it's even more important to say, well, I do this for an application. Yeah, it helps you with remarketing yourself.
Yeah, but if it makes you feel any better, we still have conversations in the UK about what a BA does. And if you speak to 10 BAs, even who are in the same city or work in the same sector, they will all tell you that in the same company, exactly. They'll tell you the things that they do, and you just be like, well, we all do different things.
That's why I think we need to have like that common language in a simple way to explain what it is that we do. But it's so hard because, as you say, like all of us do very different activities to kind of achieve the same similar goals.
Yeah.
And I think for the last 10 years, and I joke about this all the time, like my dad had no idea what it is that I did. Like my dad is my biggest cheerleader, like career wise, life wise in my life. But
Right.
I don't think he ever actually understood what I did. And until, like, now when I started my business, and I'm kind of working in the similar space that I did before as an analyst. So now it's just easier for him. He's like, she's a business owner, she has a consulting company, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
Trying to explain that before, but it's for me, what I normally, and I've refined this as I went along. What I say now is, for as a BA, I help my business stakeholders make decisions, and hopefully good ones, about what they want to do with their technology.
I'm stealing that myself. Just FYI, definitely using that one from now on. I love it. Pragati, this has been such a great conversation, and I've really enjoyed your wisdom, your knowledge, and your expertise, and just kind of breaking down what you do, what your organization specializes in, which is the RevOps world, and just how that helps organizations, but also, how as business analysts, whether we work in an environment that uses the term RevOps or not, I definitely feel like that mindset and that approach would be very useful in a lot of cases. If people would like to connect with you, pick your brain, or just kind of find out more about what you do and what your company does, where can they find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn as well. So you can always find me there, Pragati Sinha. My company is called Capstone Consulting. You can visit our website. That's capstonehq.com. We are based out of Boston, but we work, right now, we're working with more North American clients. But we would love to work with, any interesting projects that you have in the RevOps space, in marketing automation, CRM. You don't even need to have a project. I always love to chat about business analysis, project management, anything that you're doing with projects. If you just want to, share thoughts, share ideas about, working as a BA. If you have questions about working as a BA, or anything about your careers, if I can answer them, happy to connect and chat, and help you in whichever way I can. So, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. I will put the links to your LinkedIn page and your website, your company website, on the show notes of this episode.
Thank you. Same here. And you're a very delightful host. And so I just love chatting about all of the things that are, interesting to me. And it was a really fun conversation. Thank you so much.